There are now about 20,000 people who have watched me on Gutsick Gibbon discussing radiometric dating with Erika. And some people have asked me to make a video sharing what I learned from that and how I felt about the video overall. So I'm going to start by sharing my emotional reaction to the video, and then I'll talk about the science. My emotional reaction is utter humiliation. That was very embarrassing. I was very unprepared. And so it was really hard to let Erika put that on the channel. And I did have several opportunities to not have that published on the channel. Erika was incredibly gracious. In fact, before our discussion, we had been discussing by email, and I told Erika, I'm really nervous about this. And, you have 43,000 subscribers. When did this happen? Because she had been a small channel, and, I was like, wow, I really don't know if I want this to be seen by so many people. So anyway, when I told Erika that, she said, you know what? Let's just meet just you and me. I'll have a discussion with you, and we don't even have to record it. We don't have to put anything on my channel. And I just thought that was so kind and so gracious of her. And it really showed me her heart, that her heart is to really teach the material. And so she was willing to meet with one person, to give her time to one person to educate me on her view. And I just appreciated that so much that I wanted to honor her back. And, as a content creator, I wanted her to have the opportunity to record the material. But she was still so gracious that even after we recorded it, she was like, if there's any reason that you don't want me to put this on the channel, just let me know and I won't publish it. And I really wanted to tell her, I don't want it on the channel, don't do it. But I told her to go ahead and put it on the channel. And the reason I did that is because I felt like it was more important to honor her time than to try to save face. And that she did such a good job presenting that I didn't want to, I wanted her good presentation to be out there, even though it was a little bit embarrassing for me. So, I was just hoping though that either maybe she wouldn't put it on there, or that maybe people wouldn't watch it, that it would just be kind of like one of those videos on, her channel that doesn't get watched. Unfortunately, that's not the way it turned out. So I have been just really struggling with that. Actually, it's hard to have, 20,000 people see what is, what I don't think is a good presentation of myself. It's not what I want to be known for, right? So that was really hard. But let's talk about the science. As I said, I thought Erika did a great job presenting. I still do. I think she gave me good evidence for radiometric dating. In particular, I think the article and the discussion about the volcano, about the eruption of Vesuvius, is great evidence for radiometric dating, because there's the historical recording, we have, the history as well as the scientific data that are aligned. So I thought that was really excellent. After Erika and I's discussion, I pushed back a little bit about the tree rings. And, there are, to be fair to young earth creationists, they have responses to the things that Erika presented in the video. However, when I kind of pushed back on the tree rings thing, Erika then sent me an article that kind of responds to the young earth creationist response. And, so I have, the majority view and Erika's presentation, which I think is good evidence. There's the young earth creationist response. And honestly, when I weigh them, I really don't know who to believe, because I'm just a layperson. But I'm happy to give, credit to Erika and say, you know what, she presented me good evidence for radiometric dating. Now, does that mean that I'm ready to accept radiometric dating as proof of the age of the earth, or proof that young earth creation it should be abandoned, or even that radiometric dating is accurate. No, I'm not ready to accept that. And for some people, that may be grounds for calling me a science denier. And some people have called me a science denier. I don't think I'm a science denier. I embrace science. And so what I'm doing in this situation is I'm embracing what Erika said as, good evidence for radiometric dating. However, I'm just not making a conclusion based on that good evidence. And the reason I'm not ready to make a conclusion based on that is because I think there's mixed evidence. So whenever I talk about young earth creation, I fully admit that there is good evidence against a young earth. But I think there's also good evidence for a young earth. And so I'm kind of dealing with conflicting evidence. And so, some would say, well, then why don't you just go with the majority view? The majority of scientists believe the earth is 4.5 billion years old. Why don't you just believe them since, you don't know the science yourself? And there's a couple of reasons why I'm not ready to do that. One of them is that the majority of scientists have been wrong many times. If you just, look at the Wikipedia article on superseded scientific theories, there's a huge list of scientific ideas that were held by the majority, sometimes for long periods of time, and those ideas were later overturned. So I'm not ready to accept this based on the majority view. Now, if all of the scientific evidence was against a young earth and all of the scientists were in agreement, then I might more easily conclude that the young earth position is false. However, that's not the way it is. And sometimes it's presented by Erika and others as if all of the evidence comes together and points to this one thing. And I don't think that's true. Erika has a video called 5 things that preclude young earth creationism. And, there's also things that seem to preclude the old earth view, the, 4 billion year old view, such as the faint young sun paradox. According to the math and considering the life cycle of a star, there should have been a time when all the water on Earth was completely frozen. And if we do the math, it looks like it should still be frozen. So there's that difficulty. And, there's probably responses to that. And so I don't want to get into another huge debate, about that issue. But, when I consider that, and when I consider the biomatter that's been found in dinosaur bones that are supposed to be millions of years old, as well as dinosaur bones that have dated, that have been found to have carbon-14, oil and coal that have been found to have carbon-14, to me, those are some indicators that the Earth may not be as old as has been presented. Now, there's another consideration for me, and that is the theological consideration. So, I'm having mixed evidence about the age of the Earth, and I also have a very strong belief in the Bible, and the view that goes the best with my theology really is the young earth view. So I strongly lean toward that. I'm not saying that, everyone has to have that view, or that it's that it would be an insurmountable theological problem. If all the scientific evidence was conclusive that the earth was old, I would adjust my theology. And there's some people who have done that. There's many Christians, many good friends of mine who have fully embraced not only the old age of the earth, but also evolution, and they have found a way to work that in with their theology. So I'm not saying it's an insurmountable problem, but I do think that there are some theological issues with embracing the older view. Now, I want to be clear, it wouldn't be a problem for me theologically to believe that the globe itself was billions of years old. But if the fossil record was really millions of years old, that would present a bit of a theological problem for me, because that means there would be death and suffering, millions of years of animal death and suffering prior to Adam and Eve. So at this point, I'm not ready to mess up my theology just to make a, to adhere to the majority view, especially when the majority view has been wrong in the past. But it is not easy to reject the majority view. It really sucks to be a young earth creationist, honestly, because I know that having this viewpoint makes me instantly lose credibility with people. And I want to be taken seriously on the things that are important that I talk about, like about who Jesus Christ is. So it's hard to lose that credibility. It's hard to be thought of as a fool or stupid or uneducated or a science denier. I don't want to be thought of that way, but I can't change my view just to fit in. And I'm really thankful that there are people who, it's hard for me as a layperson. How much harder is it for a scientist to actually stand up against the majority view? And so I just want to say thank you to the young earth creation scientists who are putting themselves out there, who are willing to be discredited, to have their credibility trashed, their education trashed, and to have worked so hard to achieve their credentials and to learn their field. Even if you're a person who does not accept young earth creation, as most of the people who probably watch this don't, I think you should also be thankful for people who are willing to stand up against the majority, because where would science be if people were not willing to challenge the majority view? So it's a good thing that we have people like creation scientists who are willing to say, no, the majority view is not right, and here's why, and to offer challenges to that. And maybe you don't think their challenges are good, but it is makes science robust when we actually have opposing viewpoints. And that's just another thing I just wanted to thank Erika for, and just say, you know what, I don't embrace her view, but I fully appreciate her as a scientist. I'm thankful for her. I think she's, probably the nicest and smartest of those who are on YouTube presenting this type of view. So I'm grateful to her, and I'm grateful to her for the time that she spent with me. And I would still love to continue the conversation. Although I would say it'll probably be a bit challenging for me, but I am thankful. And so even though I feel that humiliation, thank you so much. And thank you again to the young earth creation scientists. I know how much it sucks sometimes to be a young earth creationist. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my thoughts. Please subscribe to my channel, and God bless you. His own self for heavenly food.